I'm not gonna be fine. Da, 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 da. Shut my real name out just to get a rise. It's a good band. But we love legendary drops. And usually they are 100% correct. I agree a lot with what they say, usually. You guys ready? You guys ready? You ready? Better be ready.
Where I don't even know if people can even...
By the way, YouTube, if you're wondering, chat just likes to be silent when we're doing this stuff, or they do TTS. It's never... They never just talk. It's always TTS, or mess with me, or just be quiet, so it looks like there's no one here. Show them up, man. Show them up, YouTube.
Afford to play video games anymore. We just got slammed with a tidal wave of new releases, the vast majority of them premium priced. We just saw
exactly
consoles raise in price for the second time this...
That's bombastically stupid of them. I don't understand that. As the generation gets older, you sell it for less. Psychosis? Really? Hi, Josh. But, no one's gonna buy them now. And I think that's what their plan is. They're going to use that as an excuse to say consoles are not that profitable anymore. Well, they weren't. They were always like the lost leader to get you to buy the games. But it shows that they don't care. They're going to continue doing what they were doing. So you can expect more slop for a few more years. Hi, Josh. Hi.
This year. And Nintendo's out here selling 18-year-old games for $70. Oh, and also announcing a paid DLC for a game that doesn't even exist yet.
Which tells you that it's in the game. They're just separating it. On purpose.
We already have quality issues with these games. We can't even trust the vast majority of them to be playable when they launch.
Nope. They're not going to be.
We've seen more industry layoffs, and it feels like this industry has employees, and yet regardless of the failed
For those
launches,
of you
the
that
stumbles, the
defend Nintendo,
issues,
they've already fired a ton of people
games,
recently.
It feels like we just keep seeing more games at an infinitely...
They fired their customer service to replace it with really cheap people. Think about that. Think about that.
Increasing rate.
They don't care about customer service, which is the bare bones of what you should care about.
Begs the question, who's gonna buy it all? I can't be the only one that's sitting here thinking to myself, there's just way too many games that have come out this year. And
there has
we've
been.
had some good ones, some really good ones.
Really good ones.
It's getting to the point where even they're gonna go on the back burner. And while that's great, we can go ahead and buy and play games whenever we want to, that's not how this industry is built. This industry is built for day one sales, and I do not think people are gonna show up for it.
They're not.
So today what I wanna do is I wanna talk about how unaffordable this hobby has become. I want to talk about how regardless of the...
It is rent-seeking, you're right. I forgot the name for it, so that's why I didn't mention it, but they don't want to make games. They want you to pay for the chance at a game. They don't want to have to work at all. What's hilarious, though, is the devs would like to work. The devs would like to do decent work. But they don't get the time to. Because they want money now. Oh, the corporates just want money now. Give money now. Here, game. Not out yet, but give money now. Hey, Kohaku. You play games with me after my reacts?
Of some of these games, they're still going to fail in sales, and how at some point the AAA industry really needs to learn from their indie competition because the price isn't right. But before that, Displate heard I like Path of Exile, and
they would love that, but I think they're going to fail long before that, Josh.
I think they took it a little bit too seriously. Displate has officially licensed Path of Exile to Metal Prince, and as somebody who is way too deep into that game, this is a dangerous development because Path of Exile has some of the sickest art in the genre, and now I've got those prints sitting up in my office, and I'm not saying that it's guaranteed for better loot, but I do have a new poster to be able to pray to every time I need a divine drop. If you haven't tried Displayed out before, they make high-quality metal posters that mount
Ain't that the truth?
magnetically, no tools, no wall damage, and they're so easy to be able to install and swap out whenever you move. They've got over
I'm telling you. If I ever make it, that's who I want to partner with so badly.
Designs across anime, games, movies, and more, including textured and limited edition prints. Between this new Path of Exile line and all of the other additions and drops that these guys have sent me, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Displayed, I love your product, but seriously, I have nowhere else to put them right now. I'm starting to look at my ceiling at this point. So if you like the designs or maybe want to check out something
as long as you don't have to pop ceilings, you can do it.
else, go to display.com/L.
And little known fact, you can get rid of the pop.
/legendary drops to get the best deal. Check the pinned comment and the link in the description. I feel like this has simultaneously been one of the best years for games, but one of the worst years for actually gaming. We've been hit with a
I would have to agree. In terms of like, I think ginger snaps are a great cookie. I haven't had some in a while though. I would say I'm trying to think. In terms of indies, it's been like a generational like boom in good games. But in terms of AAA, I'm pretty sure next year one of those companies is going to fail. If not more than one.
Of awesome releases, some of the most anticipated titles in years, but also some of the worst performance issues, constant demands for higher end hardware, and news almost every month about price hikes. It's like, yeah, a lot of this stuff looks great on paper, but can people even run these games, let alone even afford the hobby at all anymore?
I agree with that statement, Josh.
Or take Borderlands 4. As much as I think it's one of the strongest entries in the franchise, it ran.
If I ever make it as a big streamer, which right now I'm still a small streamer. I do plan on like paying people to make games. Or getting you with like early access games that are like RPGs and stuff and seeing if they will add stuff to the game. Like I'll pay for like the big package where you get to have like some design choices and stuff. And I'll give them ideas. I won't make them change anything. I'll just give them ideas and be like, hey, what about this?
And like garbage at launch, it still runs like garbage right now. Sure, if you're sitting at a $5,000 PC, you can brute force your way into a decent experience, but that's not the reality for 99% of players. On console, the optimization is so bad that the game's performance would degrade every half hour until you were forced to restart the game just to keep it playable. The longer you played, the worse it got. It has become such a mess on console that Gearbox has had to suspend the Switch 2 release indefinitely, even after already taking pre-orders. At least these guys refunded the money, but come on, how is it acceptable to sell a version of your game on hardware before you even know it can run? And this is
where's the scales?
Nowhere. On me.
This isn't just a Borderlands 4 problem. Almost every...
And here's the thing. The reason why I found out the reason why these big streamers aren't covering it, like Legendary Drops aren't covering it, is somehow or another they're allowed to hide the fact that they have egregious DRM and stuff in their game. I think they have some loophole or something they're exploiting on Steam that makes it where they got to remove the warning label. Like, there would be a massive amount of less people that have gotten it if they knew about it. But somehow they exploited a loophole that I'm not sure even Steam's aware of. But a lot of people have noticed that right before it was buyable, it showed up on the website, like on Steam. But when the pushback started getting higher and higher, it disappeared. But it's still in the game.
major AAA release in the past 5 years.
Somehow they got it
with
removed.
Significant performance issues, unless it's a console exclusive where the hardware is fully optimized for specifically that game.
Which I don't know if that's
the
legal.
Industry is now building games for a performance ceiling that doesn't actually exist in the market right now. That's not just for consoles, but for most PC setups, and it's just leaving us in the dust. So if the current hardware is already struggling, if these consoles are already being dated and they're out of relevance, then riddle me this. Why is Xbox raising the price of their console for the second time?
They're raising their console prices because I highly suspect that either, these are my ideas, you guys are going to be like, oh my god, they're going to do that. They raise the prices so that they can then sell them for the normal price on Christmas. To get the people that aren't really paying attention.
Lizard.
To get the people that aren't really paying attention, that do want one, to buy it at full price. It's kind of the same thing as clothes. Which really, there's a law against that, but somehow they get away with it.
Lizard.
Lizard. But basically, what's gonna happen is, I kid you not, it's probably gonna lizard. Bite you guys. They're going to put them on sale. So graciously near Christmas, or Thanksgiving, or Black Friday, and they're gonna be like, oh, "Look, it's on sale. Come buy it." And then when people do buy it, they're gonna get a few people with the, well, you're already here and at the desk. Might as well just buy it. A few people are gonna be like,
just blow up the
this
earth.
isn't on sale.
Humans
This is
never
full
learn.
price.
In 5 months. Back in May of 2025, Xbox made one of the biggest price hikes in industry history. Consoles went up by 20 to 27%, accessories went up by 8 to 15%. The bottom of the line Series
Notice that they're doing the exact same thing that Nintendo did. The banker guy that runs Nintendo right now, he's friends with someone he's friends with a higher up in Microsoft. I would not be surprised. I would not be even slightly surprised.
S jumped from $300 to $380, where the top of the line Series X went from $600 to $730. Now, just 5 months later, they've done it again. The Series S is now $400, and the Series X is now $800.
That's the only one worth buying, and it's now no longer worth buying. I want you to know. It wasn't worth buying in the first place at $729. That's a PC. Now it's literally a low-end PC that could run better than this. They've overpriced their console. Because technically, if you put the price hike before and this one together, it's about 33% price increase.
And those numbers might not sound
Andrew.
insane at first glance, but for consoles, machines that are
supposedly those are going to be fixed soon. But yeah, that's why we haven't been really playing it, because it would stutter and stuff on my
supposed to be
PC.
the casual, affordable entry point into gaming, that is pushing way outside of the comfort zone of most players today. And if this is what counts as the
comfort zone is $600. That's why the Switch was still able to kind of sell. It's because it was still under that. The console, people are willing to spend a lot, but not too much.
accessible option, I honestly do not see how this hobby is going to stay accessible for very long. In an article from the game,
It's not accessible right now. The only people that are really going to see success are indies now.
written by Jack Coleman, titled Blizzard Boss says tariffs are just an excuse for Xbox to raise prices. The writer Jack Coleman writes, the prices of both the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series
You want to know what's crazy? They're claiming tariffs. Tariffs aren't even really there anymore for the, at least Japanese. If I remember correctly, they went way down. They're like maybe 5%, 10% or something like that. But here's the funny part about those tariffs. We pay them. Like, you think that the people that are selling the product over there are going to eat that loss? No, they're going to sell them slightly higher here. They're just going to increase the price perpetual to the... But again, the tariffs are just an excuse, because most of this stuff, they don't even really need to increase the price. They're still making like a huge up charge with it. That's what's hilarious. But they're obfuscating the actual issue.
Deaths are set to rise in the United States, with Microsoft blaming the changing macroeconomic environment for the price hikes. In other words, Xbox is blaming the ongoing tariffs for the price increases. Ex-Blizzard president Mike Ybarra is critical of these price increases, saying that Microsoft is using tariffs as an excuse to try to squeeze more profit from Xbox. Ybarra had described the first price increases as justified given the sudden implementation of tariffs, but he believes this new price increase is more cynical. Console price increases are not tariff issues, they are profit issues, his post reads, and the reason why profits are not where they should be is a far, far deeper issue versus the tariff excuse. He later added tariffs went up once, so that does justify a single price increase. An excuse to continue raising prices with no new increase in tariffs is simply a different problem, and they are going to make consumers continue to pay for those problems. Now, some of you guys might remember this. I mentioned this back when I first covered the first round of price hikes in May. Tariffs or no.
Here's the funny thing. Microsoft has never understood video games. At least the main part of Microsoft. They don't care. They don't care. They never understood it. Why they even have it if you don't understand it? The console has always been the loss leader.
Soak your ginger snaps in Baileys and get blasted.
Sounds delicious. But what they don't understand is the console is a loss leader. It has to be. Gamers are very frugal. Usually, the smart ones are. And most like really good gamers, like I would say a good 60% of gamers do not like the price increases. They never have, never will. The more you increase them, the more you lose them. Mark my words, Grand Theft Auto will fail.
Tariffs, these increases are an excuse
anyone
to
buying it
more profit out
day
of their customers.
one
Yes, tariffs have always been a part
is
of the
a
conversation.
massive
Chinese-made
idiot.
consoles make up a bulk of that side of the U.S. imports.
Bye,
but the reality is,
doctor.
these
Have a
companies
good
are just
night.
using them as cover. They are the ones who consolidated their manufacturing in one country to save money. They are the ones that let themselves be exposed to trade policy, and now we are the ones that are footing the bill. And we know that is the case because when some of these tariffs have been delayed, rolled back, or even came with exemptions, prices never went down. Not a single time. Because these prices were never about faithfully tracking the tariffs in the first place. It was just about rationing up the
I haven't used my
baseline and
console
then never
really.
walking it back. And it's not just me saying it. When even someone like Mike Ybarra is calling these price hikes money grabs,
I use
you
it
know
more as
the
a
excuse
TV.
is starting to wear thin. Moves like this are just making gaming a hostile hobby to get into. These price hikes, tariffs or not, are not keeping pace with wages, and people just simply can't afford it. Worse off, the quality of these games is not rising with these prices either. So why would
They're lowering because they're not actually spending that money on the games for the most part. Plus the fact that he's right. They're not raising with people's wages. Wages haven't increased for a while. I hope. I have to wait 2 weeks before I get to play Strangers. But yeah, it looks bad.
anybody want to buy into this? And it's not just Xbox doing it to their customers, everybody's doing it to their customers. Look at Nintendo. They already tested the waters with Mario Kart World at $80. Now they're turning around and they're asking $70 for a Switch 2 bundle of Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Two games that are over a decade old with no new content, just upscaled visuals. And yet they're asking for a brand new release price. And if you guys thought it stopped there, well, you'd be wrong because Nintendo is launching Pokemon Z and A at $70. But during their latest Nintendo Direct, they made an announcement for a day one DLC that you can pre-purchase right now for another $30. That means if you want the full game on day one, you're looking at $100.
They've snuck in the $100 price tag, by the way. Because I kid you not, that part of the game is in the game. They just separated it.
And it doesn't even end there. It doesn't even end with the sticker price.
Let alone the fact that the art looks crap.
Still going to be locked behind another wall, Nintendo's online subscription. If you do not pay for that, well, you're not going to be able to access all the rewards or evolutions that are going to be tied to the DLC. Yes,
hello,
Nintendo
Alexandra.
is literally paywalling Pokemon evolutions now. In an article from IGN titled Pokemon Legends ZA's $30 Mega Dimension DLC pushes the price of owning every Mega Evolution to $100 on the Switch 2, Tom Phillips writes, Nintendo's decision to announce costly DLC for Pokemon Legends ZA and lock 3 Mega Evolutions behind an active Nintendo Switch Online subscription has prompted fan complaints over the amount of money required to unlock every creature. Last Friday's Nintendo Direct included the announcement of...
I kid you not, if they get away with this, they're going to charge per Pokemon. That is the pathway they're trying to go. This banker guy that's running Nintendo, he's going to run into the ground.
Mega Dimensions, a $30 DLC that includes additional story content and allows fans to encounter 2 new Mega Evolutions, Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y. 3 other Mega Evolutions were also confirmed for the Kalos starter Pokemons, Delphox, Chestnut, and Greninja, with the small print revealing that these would only be available post-launch as
Turbo
rewards
subscribers
for
can do
competing in
that?
online ranked battles, which requires a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. With Pokemon Legends ZA already at $70 on the Switch 2 or $60 on the original Switch, fans were quick to note that the $30 Mega Dimension DLC, announced weeks before the game's launch and available to pre-order already, pushes the price of owning every Mega Evolution to $100. On top of that, the need to have an active Nintendo Switch Online subscription only adds to the costs involved, and with each of the 3 granted over subsequent in-game seasons, players will need to keep their Switch Online active for multiple months and win ranked battles to unlock the lot. I just find this utterly ridiculous. We have now reached the point where Nintendo isn't just trying to strangle the industry with lawsuits and patents on basic gameplay mechanics. They've also been the first to jack up the base price of games to $80, and now they're paywalling the very identity of their own series. Evolutions are not bonus content, they are foundational.
They are foundational content. They are part of the game. They're locking it behind a paywall now.
Yet here we are with a $30 DLC.
Don't get me started on the rank thing. Are you going to tell little Timmy he can't have what he thinks is his favorite Mega? No, I didn't think so.
Top of a $70 game, and if you want it all, you're still forced to keep up a subscription service while they drip feed mechanics back to you. I can't believe I'm saying this. Nintendo is worse than Activision.
They have evolved. They have overcome. They are Activision EA. They're both combined.
The company that sells itself as the family-friendly, consumer-safe option is squeezing its players harder than anybody else. And here's the part that really exposes just how broken this has all become. Because for the price of Pokemon and its DLC, you could buy Silksong, Expedition 33, and Hades, all of this year's strongest contenders for Game of the Year, and still have money left over.
That's what's wild. That's what I was going to say. You could buy 5 Silksongs if you wanted. You could buy Silksong for yourself and 4 friends.
I mean, I guess this is where we're at right now, paying more, getting less, and if this is what's passing for normal now, then maybe the question isn't how much people are going to pay, it's how fast they're going to walk away. The amount of Pokemon that I played as a kid is indicated by my glasses prescription, which is that I am legally blind. That Game Boy never left my hands, and never in all of my years, I never thought we would see the day where Nintendo would paywall Pokemon Evolutions. Nintendo fans, Pokemon fans, the people that are defending this, listen to me for just a second. You are one step removed from seeing your Pokemon evolve and getting a pop-up that says $15 to proceed or cancel evolution.
That's how close you... that's what I was saying! Pretty much! They're gonna charge per mon.
That Pokemon, it's money. It's money.
They're good. We're this close to you going into the shop, the Pokemart, and it's saying, making you pull out your credit card per Pokeball. You'll be paying for it in real life.
This is what it is. This is just crazy. The Xbox price increases too. If you want sustainable gameplay on a console in 2025, you are paying $750 to $800. That is just insane to me.
Insanity.
And what does that mean for the next series of consoles? We're looking at $1,000 a pop. We're looking at...
I'm not getting another console. Not at that price, man.
$1,200 a pop. That's PC territory. At that point, you have completely excluded the casual audience from being able to play any video games anymore. And that's my biggest worry.
That's what's hilarious. They're about to price out the people that just go and buy their stuff without asking. Sentry, PlayStation is the only one that hasn't increased their prices. I highly doubt they're gonna go and do that. So you're probably still gonna be able to get a PlayStation pretty, like, decent priced. We're talking about Xbox has done it, Nintendo has done it. PlayStation's over here actually starting it, at least it seems like, to be the good guy again. Because remember, PlayStation used to be kind of the good guy. And recently they've been starting to do stuff. Where does my name come from? Oh dear. I'm going to get a lot of jokes soon. It is a combination of my favorite Japanese word that I learned early on and my favorite drink. Baka and boba.
When it comes to some of this stuff. Maybe that's what these guys want. Maybe they just want to squeeze the willing as much as they possibly can and then push the...
I would say they're starting to be good. Baka what? Baka means idiot. And boba, the drink.
The unwilling into subscription services, into free-to-play, into mobile, into places where I can't get $800 out of you today, but I can definitely get $800 out of you over the course of a couple of months. Things are just going too fast. This is...
Boba Fett! I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you.
Way too aggressive, and I just do not see this being
Call me
sustainable
Boba
for
Fett.
these guys. I do not see it working out that well for them. And that brings me to a whole other issue. The sheer volume of games that we've seen released this year. And it doesn't matter if they're good or
sheer
bad.
volume, yeah.
When you stack these...
I guarantee you I would take all of the indie games that come out this year over even one of the AAA games.
Record-breaking prices on top of a bloated release schedule, it stops being exciting and it starts feeling impossible.
Notice that they've sold really well. Like, they gained a lot of money, but they sold substantially less than they used to sell.
And if it feels impossible for somebody like me who doesn't actually have to pay for most of these games, I still end up paying.
Well, yeah, you prefer them, Sentry. That's what I'm saying. It's okay to prefer them.
Most of them anyway.
No one's saying you're wrong.
Clear the bias and whatnot, but there are only so many players. There's only so many paychecks. And this industry has convinced themselves that those limits don't exist. When I sat down to write for this video, I realized something insane. In just the last couple of weeks, we've had Silksong, Borderlands 4, Dying Light the Beast, Silent Hill F, Hades 2, and now Ghost of Yotei that's all dropping within days of each other. That is a
I'm convinced Ghost of Yotei is going to be bad.
stacked lineup, and for the most part, most of these games are reviewed pretty strong. The fan reception has been pretty high, but looking ahead, seeing Battlefield 6 set for October, as well as a couple of other big releases before the end of the year, I just can't see how all of these games are going to sell.
It looks good. That's the problem, Sentry. None of the people that worked on Ghost of Tsushima are on this team. But also, that's all they've shown you. They haven't shown you anything besides really just the visuals. That usually gives me a red flag. I'm still willing to give it a chance. But a big red flag in this industry is if they don't really show you much besides, oh, look, pretty visuals. You know what I mean? And the story, what they've shown up this story seems kind of It seems lackluster. To be fair, I wouldn't show my best parts of the story either. So there's an excuse for that. There's a valid excuse. I can understand that. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if it ends up being bad. I would say currently it's like a 50-50 whether it's going to be good. Whereas most games, like indies, it's like a 90% chance it's going to be good.
are still playing one of those games that just dropped, or they just
Oh,
don't
yes,
have the
Sentry,
time
the
or
last
money
Assassin's
to
Creed
even
one was
start
terrible.
any of these games. And I think this is
I
where
would
the
give it a
problem really
0.
comes into focus, because out of all of those games, 4 of those games are
But I'm a
$70
hard-
each. Silk Song was $20, Hades 2 was $30, and if I had to put money on it, I'd probably say that Silk Song and Hades 2 are probably going to outsell the rest, simply because you can buy both of those games for less than the cost of one of the others. But buying all of these games would run you over.
It's 100% true. I'm convinced that these games are going to sell Boko's bucks, and then the other games are not going to do good.
For $300, and that's just not
Kong
happening for
Skull
the
Island.
majority of
No,
people.
no. We're not saying all indies are amazing. No, not even close to saying that. We're saying that a lot of these indies that are coming out right now are making all these AAAs look like trash fires. A lot of these indies are amazing coming out. And it's starting to be more common that the indie's amazing and the AAA is not.
Right now, and the longer this
It's more of
release schedule
a-
continues to accelerate like this, and the more months we see that are packed like this, the more difficult it's going to become to avoid a problem. Now look, I get it, not everybody is going to buy every single game, not everybody's going to buy all of these games all at once, not everybody's going to be interested in a lot of these games. We all have our tastes and interests, but the expectation from the industry is to reach beyond their core audience and scoop up as many people as they possibly can, and I just don't see that being realistic. That mindset is exactly why we've seen so many projects canceled, studios shuttered, and wave after wave of industry layoffs. This industry hasn't come to terms yet with the sheer number of barriers that they have built between players and their games. The first barrier should be obvious. It's whether or not these games are even playable at launch. Take some of the highest rated multi-platform releases this year: Monster Hunter Wilds, Silent Hill F, Metal Gear Solid, Borderlands 4. Each one of them had major technical issues, and it's not just because these games are bad. Most of these games are actually pretty good, but it's because these developers are assuming that everybody is playing on top-end hardware, but that's just not the reality. These games aren't only demanding a sticker price, they're also demanding the newest console refresh, a PlayStation 5 Pro, an Xbox Series X, a PC with a 40 series GPU and the most cutting-edge CPU, add frame
And
generation,
even if you have the best of everything, it's not working that well.
AI-driven features, Unreal Engine 5 workloads, and suddenly you're not just paying to
No,
own
you're
the
right,
game,
Sentry.
you're now paying thousands of dollars just to make sure that you can even run them. Now, going back to Borderlands 4, the CEO has finally gone quiet now that multiple hardware reviewers like Hardware Unboxed, Digital Foundry, and Gamers Nexus have stepped up and torn the game apart. They outright challenged Randy Pitchford to repeat his claims about DLSS and frame generation on camera. And why? Because, well, the game launched in a disastrous state. Instead of taking responsibility, the CEO tried to act like it was everybody else's problem. His message was basically, buy better hardware if you want to play our premium game that's made for premium players. And that's the attitude right there. It's not just Gearbox, it's the mindset of the
I do love that he clearly doesn't play a lot of Hades. That, or he did what I did, which is he took a while away from it so that it could get fully like done.
entire industry. Come on, broke people. Skip your rent and buy a 5090 just to be able to run our cell-shaded looter shooter. That's the level of contempt that we're dealing with. That's the assumption that a lot of these people are running with. Hardware is not even the only barrier.
Although he is killing the girls around her first, so that's smart.
More. Just getting into some of these games comes with a maze of extra costs and hoops to be able to jump through. Half them want you to have a subscription service just to be able to access core features like Nintendo paywalling evolutions. Others are locking content behind season passes, online only, or deluxe editions. And there's always online DRM, launchers stacked on top of launchers, account linking across platforms. Every year, there's another layer shoved between the
You're not
player
wrong,
and the game.
Citrine.
And it's not just about buying the box anymore. You're buying the box, the subscription, the DLC roadmap, the console upgrade, and the privilege of troubleshooting performance issues on day one. And I think that's the bigger issue here. It's not just one game or one bad launch or one company that's pushing their luck or one CEO that's talking shit. It's an entire AAA ecosystem that's straining under its own weight. Publishers are flooding the market faster than customers can possibly even keep up with, stacking release after release as if money and free time are just infinite resources, but they're not. There are only so many players, only so many paychecks, and only so many hours in the week. This industry acts like this audience is bottomless, but in reality, the things are a lot more brutal than that. People have limits, and we're watching some of those limits get hit in real time right now. Prices keep rising, requirements keep rising, and yet the quality of the average release keeps sliding. It's not like there haven't been great games this year. There's been a lot of them, but they've been buried under an avalanche of other launches, day one patches, and performance nightmares. Even the games that deserve to succeed are being drowned out because the industry just refuses to pace itself. Instead of celebrating a hit, these publishers are just shoving the next one out the door, convinced that there's always going to be money waiting on the other side. I mean, how much longer can that illusion hold? Who's really buying 4 or 5 $70 games in a single month? Who's dropping $800 on a console upgrade or thousands of dollars on a PC overhaul just to be able to keep up with an arms race that the vast majority of us never even signed up for? At some point, something has to give, and you can already see that in the way that players are making their choices today. Indie and mid-tier games are thriving right now, not just because they're creative or unique, but just because they're sustainable. For the cost of one AAA release, you can grab 3 or 4 of these indie titles that actually run on the hardware that most people already own right now. And the studios that are selling those games, they don't need to sell them to everybody to be able to break even on it. They just need to make sure that their audience shows up for it. AAA does not work that way. Their budgets demand tens of millions in sales every single time just to be able to justify the expense. And when those sales don't show up, the result isn't reflection or restraint. It's layoffs, studio closures, and the same executives pointing their finger anywhere other than themselves. They'll blame the tariffs or the fans or changing market conditions, but they'll never actually admit the obvious problem, which is that their business model is broken. And that's where all...
I feel like this is true. The business model was broken for a while, and they're slowly digging themselves a hole. They're slowly, like, putting themselves further and further into that area where you can't sustain this.
This is heading an unsustainable ecosystem, spiraling prices, spiraling requirements, spiraling expectations, all pushing against an audience that cannot and will not stretch its wallet forever. You can raise your prices, you can raise the stakes, you can do whatever you want, but it's only going to be a matter of time before this entire house of cards collapses. And when it does, it won't just be one studio or one release. It'll be the entire structure of AAA crashing into the reality that it's basically spent all of these years pretending doesn't exist. I was looking at the some odd top 20 games that released this year, and it's almost $1,200 if you bought every single one of those releases. That is just insane to me. That is so much money, and that's not affordable for a lot of people. And it would be less than $200 if you just bought the indies. It would be some odd $300 if you bought the indies and the AA games that came out. If that was the case, and those are the only games that you bought this year, man, you did really well. And bonus is you're actually able to run those games on nearly any piece of hardware right now. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, I think, and I've been saying this for a while, as this industry continues to increase their prices and increase the demand on hardware demands and put up more barriers in this industry, it's just going to make people more wary and critical of games before they're even released, or even after they're released in some cases. It's one of the reasons why I think we've seen so much culture warring around video games, and it's because I think a lot of people are looking for any reason not to be interested in these games. And it's not just because they hate video games, it's just because they're looking for excuses not to spend their money. That's really what it's come.
That is true. They're looking for a lot of these AAAs are giving people excuses not to pay for them. Like Randy insulting the players. Like remember Blizzard's big thing where they were like, "Don't you guys have phones and stuff?" Citrus, we understand. Just realize that the majority of people, the majority of gamers, probably don't think the same way.
Coming down to. And in some cases, you actually have people that are looking forward to and actually kind of hoping that a game that they were interested in turns out to be bad just to be able to save themselves the money and also save themselves from the FOMO.
They don't, but at the same time, the majority does kind of drive the message. They might not own what's correct or not. We're not debating that. But if the majority doesn't like a game or doesn't want to pay this much for a game, guess what? You need to sell to the majority.
And undoubtedly, you're going to have some of that almost every year with all these games. There's just too many of them. Beyond that, and this is something that kind of gave me a little bit of a pit in my stomach, and this is the one thing that kind of hates it.
Here's the thing. You cannot blame the consumer. The consumer is right when it comes to price and taste. Those are things that have always been true. How can you blame the customer for performance issues? How can you blame the customer for the game not, like, playing well? Only blaming the industry? We're not only blaming the industry. We've given the industry so many chances to, like, have their moment of, like, oh, okay, let's start working on this. But it's clear that they don't care about this. They don't care about keeping their game working. They don't care about what your experience is. They care about money, and that's about it. Whereas companies like Larian Studios, they kept working to make sure their game was working, and you had extra stuff. Did they charge for the extra stuff? No. Could they have? Probably. Well, that is your experience, Century. No one's saying you didn't have that experience.
One of the things, I'm sorry, man, I hurt my back, and I have been taking medication to be able to handle the pain that I've been going through. But what I was going to say is, we've seen 5 or 6 really good games drop within weeks of each other.
Yeah.
And while I think undoubtedly some of those games are going to do really well, some of those games are going to fail financially, and it's not even their fault.
Yeah, like, it's not even their fault. People can only buy so many games. Like, you have to understand that sometimes people can't buy all the games. They would love to, but they can't. You constantly making sure that all the games are super high price lowers the chance of any game succeeding.
It's just because people are overwhelmed. It's just too many games in the market. It's too much money to be spending. People are already going to be spending their time.
Like, even if all the games were amazing, some of these games would be failing. Because no one's going to take out a loan, at least no one's smart, is going to take out a loan to buy all the games. Plus, there's the fact that some people are PlayStation only, some people are Xbox only, some people are PC only, some people are even Nintendo only. It's split into all those categories, and then it's split into people's, like, payment, like, threshold. Then it's split into people's like threshold. Then it's split into the genres of games. You have a ceiling. And you're raising the price. It's lowering the ceiling you need to have people purchase, but it's also lowering the amount of people that'll buy it. So you're playing a game of ladders, basically. Like, you're climbing up this many rungs, but because of how many rungs you climbed up, this other one that's supposed to meet you is climbing so many down. It's like playing a game, and you're trying to make both be on the same rung of the ladder. You increase your price to this, thinking, oh, they'll climb down this much. But in actuality, they climb up way more than you thought they would. And that's what they're doing. They're climbing up too many rungs of the ladder, and the customer is climbing down too many. I'm not saying he's the only one to believe. We just happen to watch this one, because I agree with a lot of the things he says. If you have a better one, post it in the reacts, and I will look at it.
One game, they're not going to be ready to go shoot over to another one
Otherwise.
Already, and that ultimately ends up meaning layoffs.
Bleh.
Studio closures. Less money to be able to put towards the next game that they're working on. And I squarely place the blame on AAA. It is their fault for the situation that the industry is in right now.
He's right. It is their fault that they're in this situation. You don't have to agree with them. You just have to look at the proof. How many studio closures have happened? I would say 10% of the problem is with customers. 90% of the problem is with the company. They're doing things that don't make sense, that don't work, that are anti-consumer. You have to be pro-consumer to get consumers.
They have overwhelmed, they have flooded the market with so many games and so much marketing that it's made...
I don't think it's that century, but I think the future is going to change drastically before we start getting like back to where we were, where big companies were selling a lot of games.
Financially impossible for most people to be...
I think once either a few game companies bottom up, I think it'll right itself.
Able to keep up with all these releases.
It's not. We're not saying eliminate AAAs. We're saying something's got to change. Otherwise, it will be no. But I don't think he thinks, I don't think anyone thinks that there's not going to be AAA anymore. Something crazy is going to have to happen for that to happen. I'm saying, and I think he's saying, that some of the game industry has to start like looking at analytics again, because it looks like they're completely ignoring analytics. It looks like EA, ironically, is one of the first people to look at analytics and say, oh, so a lot of people actually have lower hardware than we thought. Let's build our game for that. Did you see how big that game got? Battlefield 6 got? Tons of people bought it. Like, EA sucks, but they did something smart. All I'm saying. Like, I'm still holding my breath on what they're gonna do with the monetization. But it quite looks like they were doing something smart.
It's made it even more difficult for some of these games to be able to get the visibility that they deserve. I don't know.
Like, even he's saying, he's like, it's very difficult for them to get the visibility they deserve because they price themselves out of like half the market, and then they've done things that a lot of the market doesn't like.
I don't know where this all goes. The only thing that I can think of is that hopefully it'll all just sort itself out financially. That these guys will see the numbers, they'll see their games underperforming and say, hey, maybe we should slow down a little bit. But this industry has a really hard time with learning the right lessons from some of their mistakes. So I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see on some of that stuff. But as much as I love the content and being able to cover all these games, this is just too much, man. This is just way too much. Maybe it's just because we're right before the holiday season.
I think it's definitely the holiday season. I think a lot of these games really want to get out right before it so that they can see a big increase in profits, which I don't blame any company for doing. But please don't rush your game to meet it, and don't like cripple your game to meet it.
I guess maybe that makes sense, but not really to me. I just don't see the numbers working out. Not for paying customers. Too much of a good thing can still be too much. Anyway, my back hurts. This is all I can do for my video. I will talk to you guys later. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends, comment down below. All of the engagement matters now in this new YouTube ecosystem that they've created for me. Isn't that awesome? Some dude just in a box somewhere can just decide your fate for no reason. Man, whatever. Anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace. Feeling. Alrighty, guys, that was Legendary Drops. And I think we're going to end Reacts there. Y'all have a wonderful day. Let's watch Chibi then.
Just when you thought payment
I like Chibi.
processors couldn't get any worse, they somehow managed to get deeper and deeper into the
Calm down with the lizard.
Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal have done just
Calm
too
down.
much damage to thousands upon
Watching Chibi.
Lizard.
Next person that lizards gets banned. Don't make me make it more expensive. I like it. I need a timer on that one.
Thousands of creators.
I had a timer on it at the start, but I removed it. Rev would have been just fine, I know.
And effectively hurt creative freedom.
But I'm letting chat make decisions sometimes.
Hurt artists, hurt creators of games and everything. It is actually insane just how much damage these payment processors have done. And we got to talk about how this...
Valve isn't the problem. Why do people think it's Valve?
Lizard.
all started.
There we go.
2 months ago, a feminist activist group from Australia contacted Payn.
By the way, if you live in Australia, you can report them for objectifying you.
Okay. This will only fuel my anxiety. So I sleep now.
Have a good night, Doctor.
Processors like Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, and it's like, hey, why are you allowing these adult games on Steam or itch.io? And payment processors decided to listen to this feminist activist group in Australia and get Steam and itch to remove adult games effectively worldwide. And I want to make sure I put this in perspective. A group within Australia, okay, getting upset, managed to get games pulled worldwide. That is already a huge issue that is completely unacceptable. But obviously, we gotta look at the bigger thing here, the bigger fish, so to speak. With the removal of all these games, it forced Steam, not just itch, but Steam, to buckle, bend, kiss the boot of payment processors at an entirely new...
I don't think payment processors should be allowed to do any of this. Because, honestly, I feel like it's a... What's the word called? A conflict of interest, kind of. Because people want to buy stuff and see stuff and play. Some people like playing adult games. You, as a payment processor, don't get to dictate what they can buy. You, as a payment processor, your job is to process the payment, not to decide what they can pay for. Like, yeah, some of these games, maybe they're too extreme or something, sure. But at the same time, better to do it in a game than in real life. I love how a lot of these people try to say that games cause violence. When, why can't the reverse be true? Why can't games lessen violence, which they actually do? Why won't you accept that narrative, which is the truth? Because if someone's able to do it in a game, there's like 0.5%, like there's like a 50% chance they don't do it in real life. If they were gonna. Like, it lessens the chance of that action even being taken in real life. Because sometimes it's the voice in the head kind of situation that they're listening to. And, like, it doesn't make sense. That's right, I was the quiet kid that game stopped me. I know it's not, like, a literal 50% chance, but, like, you would think that people would get that idea that, like, maybe if can already do in game, not do in real life kind of situation. Like, there's proven like, studies where it shows that over time it actually decreases a lot of these actions.
policy 15, to where at the whims of payment processors, Steam will have to remove anything they, the payment processors want them to remove. It's really messed up, it's arbitrary, and it basically shows that if payment processors don't like you, they can just basically remove your source of income, and you're no longer going to be able to make money. And there is a lot.
That's another issue. Like, why are they able to control what, like, jobs and stuff exist? That's very messed up. Why is this, I guess you could call it a facility. No. What's the word for something that, like, you have to use? Does anyone remember that word? Know that word? It's like a name for, like, something you have to use. I'm trying to remember what that word is. But basically, a necessity, yes. Why is a necessity? I don't even consider these like a job things. These are necessity because, like, who else is going to do this? Why is a necessity dictating what other, like, things can exist? Water doesn't dictate other drinks that can exist. Restaurants don't dictate whether other restaurants can exist. They compete with themselves and stuff. Why is a payment processor dictating what I can pay for? That doesn't even make sense. You facilitate me to pay. How are you telling me I can't pay for something? Makes no sense. Absolutely no sense.
There's a lot of artists and people around the world that are effectively hurting, having potentially problems paying bills right now, potentially going to lose their house.
You are causing people to lose jobs because of your moral grandstanding. When we all know you're hypocrites. And you're allowing other adult things to exist. These are fake adult things. Good God! Those can't exist. But real adult things that are way worse or way more graphic, those can exist. We'll let you pay for those. No. No grandstanding. No posturing. No peacocking. You let me pay for my stuff, or you get non-existent.
Because of what has been going on in these last 2 months, thanks to all this censorship. And at the beginning, when this all started, there was a lot of people that tried to downplay the situation of this censorship with Steam and Itch, saying it's just icky content. It's just content that they don't like. It's content that is gross or whatever in their opinion, and they think it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be purchasable, even though it's legal content that is fictional. It's just a game, and if it's legal in the country and all that, and it's just fictional content, then should be no problem to buy it, technically. But the point is that obviously...
It's not even a technicality. There should be no reason. Their moral grandstanding. They're gonna give her the subby. And there's...
Century Nerd 789 just resubbed for 1 month.
Bingo.
OMGBROWNIEVITE.
But yeah, like, there's no reason they should be allowed to do this. Like, and then when you ask them, they quite literally lie about it, so that because they know it's wrong. So I'm gonna do this. We're gonna this week we're gonna see how many times we can call our payment processors and ask them to read the rules to them. Tell them you can't read very well, and you would like them to read you the terms and services. Because the longer the call is, the more money they gotta spend. And since it's a customer service question, and they have to do that, they have to start reading it. It'll clog up their phone lines and cause them to have to spend a load of money.
Is not the case. Payment processors decide to do mafia-like tactics and force Steam and other...
Yeah, they're being the mafia. They're quite literally being the mafia because they're deciding what can and can't exist, while also being, what's the word? I just said it. Hypocritical.
And censor themselves. And I want to point out that the people that were acting like, oh, it's just going to stop there, I think they put their own foot in their mouth, because it has gotten worse and worse, and one of the big indications of this is the new policies or different ways that Steam is now handling mature games. For one, a few weeks back, which is old news and some of you might already be aware of it, but Steam introduced a new policy to where games that enter into early access no longer can be mature. And what that...
Well, they can, but they have to go through a lot of extra hoops.
Basically means is if it's a game that is meant for adults, it's illegal content, but it's meant for adults, and let's say it does have some form of adult content in it, but it might not be the main focus, okay? But even if it is or isn't, it doesn't matter. The point is if it has adult content within it, then the game can no longer be in early access. And the point of the matter is that this
and basically, yes, it can no longer exist. For the most part. I think some still exist, but they have to go through tons of tons of hurdles to basically prove that it's such a little part of their game that it doesn't even warrant a pin. Because the second it gets pinned with adult is when Steam has to treat it as that.
People's creation of people contacting these creators through the development process, and yes, there's
Dr.
issues with early access and stuff. I'm very well aware of it, but the point is early access in general is supposed to be feedback. It's supposed to be the community getting the game.
By the way, I actually finally tried going to be trying strawberry Kit Kats. Can't wait.
And giving feedback to the developer, and probably getting the early access version a lot cheaper than the full version when it comes out. There's a lot of benefits there. And with this new change, this shadow change basically behind the scenes, developers no longer can release adult games in early access, which is a pretty big issue. But then we fast forward to just...
The reason it's a pretty big issue is, from what I understand about reading on this, a lot of adult games have to start early access. Because it's harder for them to get funding. Because, literally because of credit card companies from before. It's like the same issue where we never saw like adult games get sold in stores. Stores didn't want to make their own, like, a whole section for adult games. Because that's the extra money that they have to spend. Like, it was the added stigma and stuff. It's still kind of an issue in, like, the digital age. It's a lot easier for adult games, but they still have to raise money sometimes to get the rest of the way through their game.
A few days ago, this article that I'm going to be talking about now. So let's get into it. Games on Steam can no longer be updated with adult content post-launch, but Valve isn't the problem, developer says. Crimson Delight Games, the developer of adult fantasy RPG Tales of Legendary, says it had to give up on updating the game with extra adult content to comply with Steam's new rules. The devs say Valve is not to blame, as the platform has been kind, and despite payment processors breathing down its neck, that's crazy right there. Tales of Legendary launched as an adult-only game on September 15th, so basically like kind of less than a week ago, with mature content warnings in place. According to the announcement on Steam, the developers plan to add additional adult scenes through updates to the base game while they worked on a major DLC expansion slated for 2026. However, they had to give up on updating the base game because Valve doesn't allow post-launch adult content for an app that's already been through the review process and has released on the store. It seems that even if a game is marked as adult only from the start, developers are not allowed to add more adult content after the initial release. Instead, additional content has to go through DLC, which requires its own review process. Over on Reddit, a Crimson Delight game rep commented, "We're in a couple of adult dev communities, and these new rules weren't in place before the collective shout uproar and the payment processor censorship."
Yeah, anyone that thinks Valve has anything to do with this, you forget. Valve is the reason why a lot of these adult games even got to see the light of day. Valve was like, from now on, we're going to be kind of a laissez-faire, basically hands-off situation where we'll review the game, make sure it's a good game and stuff. If they go through the review process. but we won't say yes and no to these games anymore. We'll allow customers to say yes and no to these games. Basically, like, if enough people buy it, it's a yes. No one buys it, then it's a no. Kind of situation.
They emphasize that despite the new restrictions imposed, Valve was kind and forthcoming throughout the process. We didn't feel threatened or bullied in any way, and we got the feeling they were trying to do their best to help devs navigate the process, said one of the devs, suggesting that the platform is doing what it can despite the recent pressure from third parties. On a side note, Crimson Delight confirmed to Steam that regular updates to adult games such as bug fixes and patches to existing content are still allowed. The new rule seems to specifically apply to adding new, mature content. So this is a very big one right here. This is a very big rule that kind of outlines what's kind of going on here. So, basically, if a game is even marked as an adult, it cannot add new free content with updates. Like if it adds new scenes or whatever, it cannot add it. And this can effectively go to even games that isn't strictly focused on mature adult content.
Basically, they can't. Like, they have to go through the review process, and Steam has to be very particular about what they allow because they don't want PayPal having another excuse. Because right now, that's literally what it is they're using it as an excuse to censor stuff and to ban stuff.
For instance, when you think about Baldur's Gate 3, if you have played it, you'll know that there is adult content within it. It might not be the primary focus, but there is. And let's say Larian Studios was to add, theoretically, a new mature scene within it. Obviously, they would not be able to do that. They would have to release it as a DLC, and it would have to go through a thorough, rigorous review process to be able to even release that DLC. So it already showcases some extra layers of restriction and tampering with creative expression and freedom within games, thanks to these payment processors. And like I said, it's like the overall stranglehold is getting worse and worse as the days go on by, and a lot of people are not even aware of this or even talking about it, because mainly people are either talking strictly just about maybe what happened at the beginning and not even aware of the follow-up stuff, which is why I'm trying to bring attention to this, because it is getting worse, and adult creators, it's becoming harder and harder for them to even release adult games, which, strictly speaking, what this is going to do is cause people not even to make adult games. They're not even going to want to release them on Steam anymore, and that's, honestly, that's a big issue as well. That's, in general, a huge issue, and a lot of people want to instantly blame Steam for this, but I think that this entire article
Steam.
really tries to show...
Anyone that wants to blame Steam needs to realize that before this, Steam was completely hands-off. Like, I think they rarely, if ever, kicked the game off the platform. Like, the dev themselves had to do something that broke, like, a rule, which, like, the rules were so fair, or they had to, like, be found out to be a scam, or be found out that they added an update that started, like, adding malware to people's computer or something. If they found out about that, games kicked off. And, like, devs banned. But how many times do you hear about that? Once or twice? Maybe? Every blue moon?
Case the situation that Steam is in and what they're doing behind the scenes. It's very apparent that they are against what the payment processors are doing. But Steam, at the end of the day, they can't fight them. That's the truth.
Steam can't do anything.
Really puts...
Because a lot of the way Steam makes money is through its games. And if PayPal just says, okay, we're not processing payments anymore, literally the only way that they can make money is through Steam Cash. And, like, how many people are doing that in this day and age? Going out and finding those cards. And even then, I think PayPal's still required to, like, process those payments, maybe. I could be wrong. But I think they're still needed to process the payment itself. Even if it's through Steam Cash.
everything into perspective. If Steam, which is the house of pretty much majority of the PC game catalog online, can't even fight back, what is small companies and sites supposed to do? It is actually insane, because they can get away with this, and they can continue bullying these companies, censoring these companies, debanking these companies.
I don't think you should have any say over another company's sales. I don't give a damn what you think about what they're selling. They could be selling crack cocaine. Which, to be fair, is illegal, but you get my point of, like, I don't care what they're selling. What is your job? It's to process payments. You're a necessity. You're required to do something. Guess what? You don't get that choice. You do your job. Like, I wouldn't blame you if a place was selling the crack. I'd blame the place that's selling the crack. Not you. You see what I mean? You have nothing to do with the seller besides facilitate the payment, which is what you're there for. Of course you would be there. It makes sense that you'd be there. I'm not going to blame you for doing your job. When you try to put on the big boy pants and say that you're in charge of that, well, I'm going to start judging you for it. But it's not the way you thought. I'm going to point out every single hypocrisy. So you're just going to have to basically stop being your job. Because you're going to be hypocritical no matter how you look at it. Oh, you're selling rings. That has to do with weddings and sex. That's adult. You can't sell those. Nope. Don't allow it. Nope. That's hypocritical.
Making them have to bend the knee and self-censor with a chilling effect. It is actually insanity how they continuously get away with this, because they have so much power. There's so much power that they have. And at any given moment, at the whims of a random payment processor, they can just end your cash flow. They can end your money in a moment, and it's over. Your entire company, your entire site, your entire way of life just goes belly up, and it is over. That is completely unacceptable. And here's the thing, companies are...
I think that every single company that is being negatively affected by this should be allowed to sue you. You are affecting their livelihood and their job, which are things you can sue places for negatively affecting your livelihood. I think Steam needs to gather all the devs that are adult devs, and they just sue PayPal, sue Visa, sue MasterCard for obstruction of... I can't remember what it's called exactly. It's like... denial of, like, services or something like that. Basically, you're stopping me from doing my job and making money to pay for my bills and stuff. You're causing a hiccup in that line that allows me to pay my bills. They can sue for damages, and every single one of those devs can basically quote whatever number of their best-selling game is.
Well within their right to host whatever they want on their platform. But the
Every single one of them
here is that all these payment processors like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, they're in leagues with each other. They are working together as a monopoly.
They are monopolistic. Never should have been allowed to, but now they are. And they're doing
the exact same thing.
They're doing the exact thing that monopolies are known for doing.
Is effectively
shoving their weight around.
They can't do anything about it. That is the problem here. There is no competition. There is no alternative to go to a different credit card, debit card company, because they own basically majority of the cash flow of the world.
I think they need to be regulated and turned into necessities. Kind of the same way power and water and stuff are. They can't really go up on their prices because they're necessities.
It's a problem. And this really pisses me off just seeing this and how people continue to downplay censorship until it eventually hits them.
I used to see, because I have it where I'm not censored at all on my Steam. I'm used to seeing at least 2 or 3 adult games on the bestsellers on the bottom little list. They don't show them on the top list. They show them on the bottom list. And I look at the bottom list sometimes to see like if there's a game I'm missing or something that's like current and people might want to see. I used to see 2 or 3 of them sometimes every other month or so pop up on that list. So I think it'd be a lot more than 2 or 3 Oak. It'd probably be like 20 or 30.
And you know what? I actually have proof of that. I want to bring this one up. We have Blue Sky. So, Blue Sky, you might know about it, you might not, but they've gotten into a lot of evil stuff as of late. I mean, they've always had some bad stuff, but in the last week or so, week and a half, they've done some pretty bad stuff since what happened recently, and Blue Sky decided to start cracking down on artists. Apparently, you no longer can release non-con artwork. Now, regardless if you don't like that artwork or not, the point of the matter is that they are now censoring artists. And a lot of people that, let's say, left Twitter or X to go to Blue Sky are now crawling back to X/Twitter because it allows more art freedom than what Blue Sky...
One of the things you don't realize about Twitter is it is literally one of the only bastions of free speech. Like, say what you will about, like, whatever you will, but you can pretty much post anything on there. Good luck not getting community guidelined. Because that's funny in and of itself. If you say something really terrible or bigoted, and you get community guidelined, and people read the community guideline and explain why you're a dummy. But I've seen some terrible things on Twitter. They don't get a lot of likes. Sometimes they get a lot of likes, but not like a astronomical amount. But like, you can post whatever you want on Twitter.
Guy does. And it goes to show that censorship just comes for everybody.
You can post anything you want on Reddit. It's whether you want to or not. And I highly doubt you want to go to Reddit because of all the stuff it does.
It's not going to stop at just one individual, and if you allow censorship of one side, it's going to continue happening again, eventually till it hits your side.
Now, Oak. Now. Before there was more. Ironically, there was like 4 or 5 free-to-play sometimes, but there was like... There was a good bit.
And that is the point. I am completely anti-censorship for this section, like for art, people expressing themselves within art and creative freedom, and seeing this type of stuff just really sickens me. I mean, at the same time, these people that left Twitter and X because they thought, oh, you know, I'm going to get censored on Twitter, turn around and come back to Twitter and X, because it's not perfect, but
it's not perfect.
It is the freest platform. And
it's the freest platform you can be on. And that's why it's so big. It's because it's basically real life. You have the freedom to say whatever you want.
In terms of what you can talk about or post online, that's a good and a bad thing, but the point is...
For now, yeah, no, you're right. For now, but... I have a lot of confidence it'll stay that way for quite a while.
The less censored. But getting back into the main point, all I'm trying to say is that the censorship issue is getting worse. And I honestly, the only answer I have at this...
All I'm saying is, all these countries that are even thinking about putting all that censorship and stuff, let's not forget what happened in Nepal. All I'm saying.
Point, which I've just been harping on about and talking about, is that these companies, these creators, need to come together and just collectively sue.
Exactly. If they get together and sue, it'll stop. Let alone what we're saying, like trying to help them with it. These card companies are trying to ignore it because we haven't been calling them enough. We need to start calling their help desks and stuff constantly and being like, blah, 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 blah. Just talk to that person all day. Keep them on the phone. Yeah, that's a form of censorship stealth. They were mad that they were being made fun of and called like wrong and stuff, so they straight up blocked it, which is censorship. It's a massive form of censorship. It's basically saying you can't see this site, basically. Whole country revolted. And all the people that were in charge, they ain't there no longer. Some of them are dead. The rest of them had to flee the country. Do you understand how wild that is? And then you're forgetting South Korea. That guy tried to take over his country and censor it. And invoke martial law. And the whole country was like, uh-huh. No. Because here's the thing, in South Korea, everyone's a trained military person. And they fought back. And he got kicked out of office. And he had to wait trials. You see what happens if you try to go full mask off and censor everything? People get fed up enough. Censorship is not a good thing.
That's what they got to do.
Censorship helps no one.
I mean, it's so...
Censorship only helps those in power. Remember that. It does not help you. All it does is make you dumber. Even if you do it slowly, Oak, that steps up the, I've had enough meter. To give you an idea, I'm pretty sure America is right below the rebel meter. They're right below it. UK's already over it. They're already starting to have some rebellions. Notice that. Even if you do it slowly, people will notice. Like, it's not something you can get away with. Censorship helps no one. The whole For the Children Act is a lie because it doesn't help. It does not stop kids from getting to these places. It is up to the parents to help, like, protect them. Yeah. You're right, Kawaii. He tried. And all of them went bad. Let's see how well you do. That also is hilarious. That One Piece is basically the poster child of rebellion. It taught everyone how to rebel. That's what's hilarious.
Wild how bad it's getting. And it's getting worse. It actually is getting worse. There's going to be a point to where Steam won't even be able to have adult games on its platform anymore.
And for those of you who think that won't affect my games, I'm sorry to say this, but there's a lot of games that fall under the adult category by proxy. Wukong, it's got girls in it, and they're his wives. That's kind of adult. Sorry, that's gonna have to go. Dark Souls, there's blood in that. Oh, that's adult. Kind of gonna have to go. GTA is adult. Guess what? You know, those of you who are excited for what I believe is going to be the biggest trash fire of its release year, it won't be allowed to come out. That's what's hilarious. It will not be allowed to come out under this current thing. Because it's an M-rated game. You think there's not going to be a sex scene or two in a Grand Theft Auto game? You're wildly mistaken. And you're wildly coping if you think it's going to be allowed to be released. Well, yeah, there is an A rating for games, but games rarely get that. They have to be, like, quite literally just adult content to get the A. Like, that has to be the main focus of the game for it to be an A. They do. Those are like the porn games that you see on Steam sometimes. But also, just getting an M qualifies you as an adult game. Mature is 17 plus. Because it was found out that ESRB, that their ratings were entirely corruptible. So barely anyone uses those anymore, truly. Might I point out that all of the Madden games are rated T, yet they have gambling in them. Might I point out that Pokemon did have gambling in it. Those were rated E. That's the other thing, Stealth. If that game's allowed, that screams hypocrisy. And it is so easy to sue a company that's being hypocritical.
Any game with a chat or voice feature should be labeled mature.
Exactly. If we're gonna be this censorship, that's literally what should be next. And then you know how many games that infects.
How bad it's going to get. Give or take maybe another year or two, it probably will be like that. Because if something isn't stopped, it will eventually get to that point. Because Pandora's box is open. It's open now. And I don't think it can really be closed unless there is a actual law put in place or a massive lawsuit against not Collective Shout, but
Collective Shout's almost
processors,
completely
which,
destroyed right
I
now.
want to add on to Collective Shout.
Those of
It's
you who live in
insane
Australia, keep
activist
reporting
group
them.
from Australia managed to screw over the entire world. Like, can we talk about that? Like, how did one group manage to do what?
With like 10 women. Like, let's forget the fact that they're all women. That were probably like jilted and mad at their exes, or no guy would go out with them kind of thing. And that's why they want to attack adult games. Because they think that's the reason they can't get a guy or something like that. But that's what I'm saying is like Pokemon should just be labeled M for all the porn.
Worldwide
Okay.
damage.
The real question
That's an
is,
issue.
why do parents
That's a
let
big
their
issue.
children play mature or
I'll leave it at that,
R-rated
though.
games?
If you
Because they don't pay attention or they don't care. They only care when it comes back to bite them. They shouldn't be
enjoy
parents.
my content, please subscribe.
I wasn't allowed to play R-rated games until I was freaking 18.
Like and leave a comment, helps with the algorithm. But Chibi out.
Chibi out. That was Chibi. You gotta love the Chibers. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to give a likers and a subscribers. And a pog. Come in! Lizard, 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 lizard!